They've tricked you into hating your life, not with violence, not with chains, but with dreams, with comparisons, with promises of something just a little better, a little faster, a little more impressive than what you have right now. And they've done it so gradually, so expertly, that you never noticed it happening. They took your attention, once a sacred resource, a compass pointing you toward meaning, and sold it to the highest bidder. They didn't ask for your permission. They didn't need to. They just gave you little conveniences, little comforts, little hits of novelty until your ability to sit with your own life evaporated. And now you scroll through other people's victories. You compare their vacations to your work days, their filtered smiles to your tired eyes, their aesthetic homes to your cluttered corner. And somewhere deep down, you begin to believe that your life is fundamentally wrong, that you're behind, that you've failed, that what you have isn't just less, it's shameful. But let's be honest. What exactly did you do wrong? You woke up this morning. You breathed. You moved through the world with uncertainty and fatigue and quiet courage. You did what humans have done for thousands of years. You tried. You endured. And yet you feel broken. Why? Because the world around you has become a mirror, cracked and distorted, always reflecting what you lack. You're no longer allowed to simply live. You must optimize, curate, perform. You must chase the next version of yourself, the next level, the next upgrade, until you collapse from exhaustion and they sell you a new identity to chase all over again. This is not a life. This is a treadmill. And the tragedy is, you don't even remember getting on. You were not born to hate your life. You were born to explore it, to experience it in all its rawness and wonder and imperfection. You were born to feel your way through the dark, to fall in love slowly, to cry loudly, to get lost and start over, not to measure every moment, not to compare every choice. But now even your deepest experiences, your love, your grief, your boredom, your rest, are interrupted by the demand to share them, to prove them, to validate them through likes and views and strangers' fleeting approval. They've tricked you into thinking you're never enough unless someone else agrees. And so you perform, you post, you polish, you rehearse versions of yourself for an invisible audience. You brand your existence into a highlight reel. And the more you do this, the less connected you feel to who you actually are. You no longer live for your own approval. You live for applause. But the applause never lasts. It fades. It moves on. And so you start the cycle again. New goals, new routines, new aesthetics, new affirmations. Still chasing the feeling that maybe, if you get it all just right, the emptiness will go away. It won't. Because the emptiness isn't a flaw in your life. It's a symptom of a world that taught you to abandon yourself. Do you really think Marcus Aurelius would have been happier with a better camera? Do you think Epictetus needed a productivity app to sit in silence and face his thoughts? Do you think Seneca, writing letters on mortality and virtue, would trade his wisdom for your follower count? They weren't seeking to impress. They were seeking to understand. And somewhere along the way, you stopped seeking that. Not because you didn't want to, but because you were trained out of it. But you don't just wake up one day and hate your life. Number, that kind of self-rejection requires careful conditioning. It requires repetition. Repetition of a message that you are not enough, that what you have is not enough, that who you are at your core is not enough unless it's transformed, rebranded, and upgraded. They planted that message in every corner of your day, in the ads between songs, in the words of your teachers, in the structure of your school system, in the faces of your peers who were taught the same script. They told you what a good life looks like, and it was always the same: successful, attractive, fast-paced, full of praise and perks, convenient, polished, shareable, but they never told you what a good life feels like because that part doesn't sell. There's no money in contentment. There's no profit in presence. There's no algorithm for peace. So they gave you versions of happiness that are always just out of reach. A little more money, a little more status, a little more muscle or skin or power or likes. And just like that, they turned your sacred hunger for meaning into a treadmill of upgrades. And every time you move one step closer, they move the finish line. You don't even realize it, but you've been taught to chase instead of feel, to display instead of experience, to perfect instead of live. And so you wake up in a body that's exhausted, in a life that's not yours, surrounded by people who don't know you, chasing things you don't even want. And still, they tell you it's not enough, and you believe them because you've forgotten how to listen to yourself. You've forgotten how to trust boredom, to follow the quiet, to sit with your own thoughts and not run. You've forgotten how to enjoy something that no one else can see because everything in your life has been hijacked by performance. Your meals, your relationships, your hobbies, your appearance, your weekends, your milestones, even your healing, even your pain. You no longer cry privately. You write captions for your grief. You no longer learn for wonder. You summarize it for others. You no longer laugh without asking, should I share this? They've colonized your mind, not with weapons, but with expectations. You think you have free will, but if I asked you what you really want, truly, deeply want, could you answer without quoting someone else? Could you speak for yourself without needing a script? Most people can't, because we weren't taught to discover ourselves. We were taught to assemble ourselves from fragments of others. A little bit of this influencer, a little bit of that celebrity, a little bit of what your parents said you should be, a little bit of what your culture said is desirable, and now you walk around wearing a mask made of other people's voices, and it's heavy. You wonder why you're so tired all the time, why rest doesn't help, why even the good days feel hollow. It's because you're not living your life. You're maintaining a version of it, a version that was built for approval, not fulfillment. And the worst part, you're praised for it. You're praised for fitting in, for keeping up, for staying on trend, for chasing all the right goals in all the right ways. You're praised for becoming the most palatable version of yourself. But being praised for your mask doesn't make it easier to wear. It just makes it harder to take off. Because once people start loving the version of you that isn't real, the fear creeps in. What if they don't love the real me at all? So you keep wearing it, even when it hurts, even when it silences you, even when it suffocates you. And slowly over years, you forget what your real face even looks like. But somewhere inside, you still know. Somewhere beneath the fear and the performance, there's a voice that hasn't been silenced, a flicker of truth, a whisper that says, this is not the only way. This life, the one built for approval, is not the only life available to you. You can walk away. You can step off the stage. You can start again. You can unlearn the shame they sold you. You can reclaim your wonder. You can rediscover joy that doesn't need to be posted. You can fall in love with silence, with slowness, with things that make no sense to anyone but you. You can stop performing and start participating. You can stop watching and start living. And yes, it will feel strange at first, unfamiliar, even lonely. Because when you walk away from performance, you lose the applause. But what you gain is yourself. You already have a life. You already have a self. You already have time. Not much, but enough. Enough to notice the light on your wall. Enough to taste your food before you photograph it. Enough to speak without editing. Enough to sit in silence and feel the ground beneath you. Enough to start over today. Now, you don't need a perfect plan. You don't need permission. You just need one moment of truth, one moment of rebellion against the performance, one moment of stillness. And in that moment, you'll remember you were always enough. They just didn't want you to know it. You were raised to produce, not to reflect, to consume, not to contemplate, to desire more, not to question whether your desires were even yours to begin with. And that's the real theft here, not just your time or your money or your focus, but your very sense of reality. When every message you receive is designed to make you feel inadequate, you begin to view your own life as a series of failures. You forget how to appreciate slowness, how to be present in ordinary moments, how to wake up and simply be. Because if you're not achieving, if you're not documenting, if you're not becoming something better, then what are you? You're a human being. And that's enough. But they don't want you to know that. Because a person who knows they are enough can't be manipulated, can't be sold a better version of themselves, can't be lured into self-doubt and endless striving. And that kind of person is dangerous. Aldous Huxley once warned that the greatest threat to freedom wouldn't come from tyranny, but from distraction. That people would come to love their oppression, that they would trade truth for entertainment, meaning for pleasure, reality for illusion. And he was right. You don't live in a prison of iron. You live in a prison of expectation, one that's so cleverly designed, you think you built it yourself. But you didn't. Your dissatisfaction has been engineered. Your shame has been manufactured. Your self-hatred is not organic. It is the result of a system that profits from your emptiness. You were not supposed to hate your body. You were not supposed to hate your job. You were not supposed to hate your reflection, your emotions, your routines. You were not supposed to feel like every moment must be productive, aesthetic, or extraordinary. Those beliefs were given to you, sold to you, and now it's your job to let them go. You don't need more hacks. You need fewer illusions. You don't need more motivation. You need more truth. And the truth is, your life is already worthy, not because of what it looks like, but because it's yours. The way your dog greets you at the door, the way the light falls across the floor in the morning, the way your favorite song still gives you goosebumps, the way you laugh with someone who really sees you. These are not minor details. They are the essence of being alive. You are not too late. You are not behind. You are not broken. You are just waking up. Waking up from the hypnosis of modern life. Waking up to the reality that simplicity is not lack, that rest is not laziness, that beauty is not performance. You don't have to escape your life. You just have to see it clearly. And when you do, when you strip away the layers of artificial urgency, you begin to see what was always there. You begin to notice that silence isn't empty, that solitude isn't loneliness, that ordinary moments carry sacred weight. You begin to feel again, to breathe without guilt, to cry without shame, to enjoy without explanation. And in that space, in that sacred return to yourself, you reclaim what was stolen. You remember that you don't have to chase meaning. You just have to stop running from it. You remember that you don't have to build a perfect life. You just have to live a real one. You remember that you don't need the world to love you. You just need to love the world, not the world as they market it to you, not the world as filtered through envy and algorithms, but the real world, the one that exists in your kitchen, in your neighborhood, in your breath. And once you fall in love with that world again, the simple, unfiltered human world, they can't touch you. Because a person who loves their life as it is no longer a customer. They are no longer easy to control. They are no longer chasing. They are free, and that is what they fear most. So next time you find yourself hating your life, pause. Ask yourself, who taught me to feel this way? Who profits from the shame? What am I really missing? Or am I just being made to believe that I am? And then breathe. You're not behind. You're not broken. You're not a brand. You're a miracle that doesn't need fixing. You're a soul learning how to come home. Let them keep shouting. Let them keep selling. You, you're done performing. You're finally living.